Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller. Tonight, we're exploring something both familiar and mysterious, something that echoes through our daily lives, yet hides secrets deep inside the human brain. We're going to explore the strange science of laughter and why sometimes we laugh at the wrong times. Before we begin, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from right now and what time it is there. You can softly type your answer in the comments below. It's always comforting to know that people everywhere are drifting into the same quiet world of thought together. And if this calm little journey helps you unwind, please consider giving this video a gentle like and subscribing so you can join our sleepy discoveries. Every night, laughter, a sound so simple, yet so endlessly complex, it ripples softly through the air, and somehow it makes us feel alive. We laugh without planning to. We laugh when something surprises us, when someone says something delightfully silly, or even when life takes a turn so strange that our minds can't find any other way to respond. But what is laughter, really? What makes the corners of our mouths lift and our breath tremble into a sound that feels both uncontrollable and freeing? For centuries, laughter has been treated as something lighthearted, almost trivial, a momentary release, a break from seriousness. Yet, hidden within this small, joyful reflex lies one of the most fascinating mysteries of a human mind. When you think about it, laughter is unlike almost anything else we do. It's spontaneous, contagious, involuntary, and deeply emotional. We can't simply decide to laugh the way we decide to speak. Real laughter rises on its own, like a bubble from somewhere deep inside. Even more curiously, laughter often comes not just in joy, but in sadness, confusion, or fear. We laugh in hospital rooms, at funerals, during awkward silences, or right after we've narrowly escaped something frightening. Why does our brain choose that moment to fill our lungs with breath and release a sound of amusement? To understand that, we have to travel back to the very beginning, to a time long before speech existed, in ancient forests, before words connected us. Our ancestors still needed to communicate safety or danger, fear or comfort. Laughter, scientists believe, may have been one of the first emotional languages, a kind of social signal that told others, "I'm okay, you're okay, the world is safe again." When an early human survived a tense hunt or a dangerous encounter, their body, overwhelmed with adrenaline, needed to release the tension somehow, and so a strange sound escaped, half sigh, half cry, the earliest laughter. That laughter didn't mean something was funny. It meant the danger was over. Even today, that primitive echo still lives inside us. That's why, after something frightening happens, you might laugh and say, "Oh my God, that was close." It's your nervous system returning to safety, and yet, laughter is also deeply personal. Some people laugh loudly and freely, others softly, almost silently. Some laugh when they feel joy, others when they're unsure how to feel at all. It's almost as if laughter is a mirror of our inner world, a reflection of our emotional rhythm. The mystery grows deeper when we consider that laughter is contagious. You could be sitting in a quiet room, and if someone nearby begins to laugh, really laugh, soon you'll feel the corners of your mouth twitch, your chest warm, your breath shifting to join theirs. It's involuntary, and yet strangely comforting Scientists call this social contagion, but to the human heart, it feels more like magic. When researchers study laughter, they often discover that it's not humor that triggers it most, but connection. Think about the times you've laughed hardest. Was it during a comedy show? Or was it while sitting with a friend, sharing something small, something that simply felt right in the moment? Most laughter doesn't happen at jokes. It happens during conversation, as tiny bursts of relief, as signals of belonging. That's because laughter is, first and foremost, social. It's a bond, an invisible handshake of the nervous system. When you laugh, your brain releases endorphins, tiny waves of chemical comfort that spread through your body and gently tell you you're safe here. Other people pick up that signal too. They hear your laughter, and their brains respond in kind, releasing the same comforting waves, a silent rhythm connecting everyone around. This shared rhythm is part of what makes laughter such a beautiful mystery. It's not a single event happening inside one brain, but a networked experience, a chorus of bodies and minds synchronizing. Scientists at University College London once conducted a study. They played sound clips of laughter to participants and observed their brain activity through functional MRI scans. What they found was remarkable. The moment participants heard laughter, their premotor cortical regions, those involved in preparing facial movements, activated automatically. Their brains were getting ready to laugh along. This means our minds don't just hear laughter, they feel it. They prepare to share it. And this might be why laughter can dissolve tension in an instant. It's like an emotional bridge, reminding us that even in confusion, we are still connected. But if laughter evolved for connection, why does it sometimes show up in the most inappropriate places? Why do we laugh at funerals, or when someone is angry, or in a serious meeting? That is where laughter begins to reveal its paradox. It's both a signal of joy and of stress release, of harmony and of anxiety. It is the emotional equivalent of lightning, unpredictable and yet beautifully human. Some of the world's greatest thinkers have pondered laughter's mystery. Aristotle once said that laughter is what separates humans from the animals. But today we know that's not entirely true. Rats, chimpanzees, dogs, even dolphins make laughter-like sounds during play. It's not speech, but it is joy. It's proof that laughter is older, deeper, and more universal than we ever imagined. When baby humans laugh, even before they can talk, they're sending messages. A baby's laugh tells a parent, "I'm happy, I feel safe, I trust you." And when the parent laughs back, that invisible thread of safety strengthens. So perhaps laughter is the first language we ever speak, and the last one we forget, even when memory fades. People with dementia often still laugh. Their bodies remember what their minds have lost, because laughter doesn't live in words. It lives in rhythm, breath, and feeling. If you close your eyes and remember a moment when you truly laughed, the kind of laughter that left you breathless, you'll notice something. For those few seconds, you weren't thinking about anything else. You weren't worrying or planning. You were free. That's the essence of laughter's mystery. It's the mind's brief escape from the endless cycle of thought. It's the universe's way of saying, let go just for a moment. So, the next time you find yourself laughing at the wrong moment, don't judge it too harshly. Your brain might simply be trying to bring balance back into your world. Laughter is not always about humor. Sometimes it's the body's quiet sigh, a hidden prayer for peace. And that is where its beauty lies. Laughter, a sound so small, yet capable of linking entire worlds together. When you think about it, every laugh is an invitation, an invisible thread, connecting one soul to another. We laugh in groups, rarely alone, and that simple fact reveals something profound. Laughter is not just an emotion, it's communication, a wordless conversation between hearts. If you've ever found yourself laughing uncontrollably, just because someone else was laughing nearby, you've already felt this hidden network at work. It's almost magical, isn't it? You don't have to know what was funny. You only need to hear the sound, and your body begins to respond. Your chest lifts, your breathing changes, your lips curve upward, and soon you're laughing too. Scientists have discovered that laughter acts like an emotional mirror, reflecting the energy of those around us. When we share laughter, our brains synchronize in subtle ways. Tiny bursts of electrical activity that rise and fall together as if multiple minds are keeping the same rhythm. In 2006, neuroscientist Sophie Scott and her team at University College London used brain imaging to study what happens when people hear others laugh. The results were beautiful. The brain's premotor cortex, the area that prepares our muscles to move, lit up as if the listener were about to laugh too. This means that laughter isn't just something we observe. It's something we participate in, even without realizing. It's the body's way of saying, I feel what you feel. This shared rhythm might be one of the oldest forms of social bonding, long before words, long before we learned to speak our minds. We may have laughed to show we were safe together. Imagine two early humans sitting by a fire. A sudden sound in the dark startles them. They tense, ready to run. Then they realize it was only a bird or the wind, and they both exhale, followed by a small, breathy laugh. That laugh told each other, it's okay, we're safe now. That tiny exchange might have been the beginning of trust. Even today, laughter builds that same bridge of trust. In classrooms, in friendships, in families, and even between strangers. Think about meeting someone new. In those first quiet moments, there's uncertainty. You don't yet know who they are or how to connect. Then someone says something lightly funny, and a soft laugh escapes. The room feels warmer. The silence breaks. And suddenly, you're not strangers anymore. That's laughter doing its quiet work, breaking down walls, turning distance into closeness. It's the sound of belonging. In one study from the University of Kansas, researchers found that people who laughed together felt closer, faster than those who only talked seriously. The laughter created what they called instant intimacy, a sense that both people shared something unspoken. We often think of laughter as light, but it carries real emotional weight. Couples who laugh together tend to feel more connected. Friends who share laughter report higher trust and empathy, and even co-workers find stressful jobs easier when laughter is part of their daily rhythm. It's like the brain has built its own social glue, a natural bonding agent that works silently in the background. What's more, laughter also creates synchronization between bodies. When people laugh together, their breathing, their heart rates, even their brain waves begin to align. It's a kind of physiological harmony, a shared biological song. No wonder laughter feels so healing. It reminds the body that it belongs, that it's part of something bigger. And yet, the connection goes even deeper. Laughter doesn't just unite people emotionally, it also builds empathy. When you laugh with someone, you're not just sharing a sound, you're sharing vulnerability. A genuine laugh means letting go. For a moment, you're open, unguarded yourself, and in that brief openness, another person finds comfort. They see your humanity reflected in theirs. There's a story about a small village in Tanzania where laughter became an unexpected teacher. In 1962, in the village of Kashasha, a strange event began. 3 schoolgirls suddenly burst into laughter for no clear reason. That laughter spread through the school, then to nearby communities, until hundreds of people were laughing uncontrollably for hours, even days. Scientists called it laughter contagion, a mass psychological reaction. But beneath the curiosity of the event was something deeply human, an example of how laughter connects minds, how one person's emotional release can ripple outward and echo through many. Though that event was extreme, it showed something profound. Laughter is not only social, it's almost biological. We are wired to catch it, to share it, to pass it on. It's part of the reason laughter feels so right in groups. It affirms our sense of belonging. It whispers to our nervous system, you are part of the tribe. That's why solitary laughter feels so different. When you laugh alone, watching a film or reading something funny, it's still joyful, but not quite as full, because part of laughter's design is to be heard, to echo, and be returned. In that echo, something happens. Tension dissolves, minds align, and the heart finds rest. Perhaps that's why laughter can heal loneliness. It reminds us that even if life feels heavy, there are still frequencies that connect us, still vibrations of joy that pass from one person to another. When 2 people laugh together, the air between them changes, and suddenly the world doesn't feel quite so vast. So, the next time you laugh with someone, know that it's more than sound. It's science and its soul working together to remind you that connection is one of life's quiet miracles. When we laugh, it feels effortless, natural, light, almost accidental. But behind that easy sound lies a breathtakingly complex symphony of the brain. It begins as a spark, a tiny flicker of understanding or emotion, something that catches the mind by surprise. And suddenly, your body begins to move in ways you don't control. Your chest tightens, your breath shortens, and before you even realize it, you're laughing. To us, it feels spontaneous. But to the brain, laughter is an elegant dance, an entire network of regions working together, each one playing its own part in perfect timing. The process begins deep inside the limbic system, the ancient emotional center of the brain. This region, older than language itself, detects feelings of joy, fear, relief, or confusion, and sends signals upward. Then the amygdala, a small almond-shaped cluster near the center of the brain, evaluates what we're experiencing. Is it safe? Is it surprising? Is it comforting? If the emotional balance leans towards safety or release, the brain moves forward with laughter's rhythm. The hypothalamus, sitting just below, adds a physical part. It changes breathing patterns. It stirs your diaphragm. It prepares your vocal cords for sound. The motor cortex, the region that controls movement, then takes over, creating the small contractions of facial muscles, the rise of the chest, the rhythmic exhalations that become laughter's melody, and finally, the prefrontal cortex, our seat of reasoning and awareness, steps in just enough to notice what's happening, but not enough to control it. That's why laughter feels so freeing. For a brief moment, our logical mind lets go, and our emotional mind takes the stage. When you laugh uncontrollably, you can't think, you can't speak, you can only feel. It's as though the brain gives itself permission to rest. Scientists sometimes call this temporary cortical surrender, a moment when control fades away and pure expression takes over. And maybe that's part of what makes laughter feel so cleansing. For a few seconds, we step out of thought and into life itself. In the 1990s, neuroscientists began studying laughter through brain scans, trying to uncover which regions were truly responsible. A researcher named Robert Provini, one of the pioneers of laughter science, spent years analyzing how and when people laugh. He discovered something fascinating. Laughter is rarely about jokes. In fact, most laughter happens during conversation, in ordinary moments where humor is gentle, shared, or even unspoken. That realization changed how scientists viewed laughter. It wasn't a reaction to comedy. It was a biological signal of connection. When laughter begins, activity can be seen in three main brain regions: the frontal lobe, the limbic system, and the motor areas. Each has its own rhythm, but all must work in harmony. When researchers at Dartmouth College played recordings of genuine laughter to participants, they noticed something surprising. The listener's brain showed activation, not only in hearing centers, but also in areas that would make them laugh themselves. That meant the brain is wired to join in, to mirror, to echo, to share emotion. You can think of the brain's laughter network like a soft wave, starting deep in emotion, rising through physical movement, and cresting in sound. But as it flows, something magical happens. Chemicals begin to shift. Endorphins flood the system, our body's natural painkillers. Dopamine increases, rewarding the act of connection. And serotonin stabilizes mood, bringing balance to the emotional tides. These waves explain why, after a good laugh, your body feels lighter, your thoughts seem clearer, and life, even if briefly, feels easier to hold. Laughter, in that way, is not just sound, it's self-regulation, the mind's built-in way of resetting itself. If you've ever cried until you laughed, or laughed until you cried, you felt the two sides of the same emotional coin. The same brain regions manage both. And sometimes they simply overflow. There's another layer to the story, something subtle and deeply human. Inside the brain, a set of special cells called mirror neurons activate when we see someone else laugh. They copy, they reflect, they prepare our own body to respond. This is how laughter spreads through rooms, how one person's joy becomes another's, without a single word being said. The laughter network isn't just one brain's creation. It's a chorus shared between many minds. In moments of shared laughter, brain scans show a kind of synchronization, like multiple instruments playing in perfect time. That synchronization builds empathy, and empathy builds safety. And that might explain why laughter sometimes feels like medicine, not for the body alone, but for the soul. In a hospital in Los Angeles, doctors once recorded how laughter affected patients' pain levels. After 10 minutes of genuine laughter, from watching something funny together, patients required significantly less pain medication. Their brains had created their own natural relief through the laughter network. Even in therapy, clinicians now use laughter as a tool not to dismiss pain, but to release it, because when the emotional brain, the physical brain, and the social brain all activate together, something extraordinary happens. The brain becomes balanced, the nervous system resets, and the self feels whole again. So, laughter isn't just an accident of happiness. It's a design, a finely tuned collaboration between movement, emotion, and awareness. And perhaps that's why, when laughter rises unexpectedly, in moments when words fail, we feel both human and infinite, a brief union of body, mind, and heart. That is the miracle of the laughter network, a song your brain plays when it remembers that you are still beautifully alive. Laughter, though it often feels like a spontaneous and uncontrollable act, always begins with emotion, a spark deep within the labyrinth of the brain. It's a whisper that turns into a ripple. That ripple becomes a wave, and before we know it, the corners of our mouth are lifted and sound escapes, the familiar, rhythmic pattern we call laughter. But what exactly triggers it? Why does the brain decide, in one particular moment, that something is funny enough to release this strange, joyful noise? The answer, like most things about the human mind, is layered, complex, and surprisingly emotional. You see, laughter isn't always about jokes or humor. Sometimes it's about release, a gentle exhale of emotions we didn't even know we were holding. Think of the last time you laughed after a long, stressful day. The laughter may not have come from something especially funny, but rather from a relief of feeling safe, relaxed, or finally at ease. Scientists studying the neurology of laughter have found that it begins in the limbic system, the same part of the brain that governs our emotions, memories, and survival instincts. Deep within this region lies the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the hypothalamus, small clusters of neurons that quietly shape our emotional world. When we encounter something surprising, ironic, or absurd, these emotional centers light up. They send signals to the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for judgment and reasoning, asking a simple question: is this safe? Is it okay to laugh? And when the answer is yes, the brain allows the signal to travel further, activating motor regions that control our facial muscles, our breathing, and even our vocal cords. A cascade begins, and laughter emerges like a wave rolling out to shore. But here's the curious part. Our emotional triggers for laughter aren't always clear-cut. We can laugh in sadness, in grief, in disbelief, and even in fear. The same emotional circuits that process joy can, under certain conditions, mix with anxiety or confusion, creating moments when laughter feels out of place, yet unstoppable. There's an old psychological concept called the incongruity theory. The idea that laughter arises when something doesn't fit our expectations. Our brain loves patterns and predictability. When the pattern is suddenly broken, when something feels absurd or illogical, the emotional centers react first with surprise, and then with laughter. It's the brain's way of saying, this is unexpected, but it's not dangerous. Imagine someone slipping on a banana peel in an old cartoon. No one is actually hurt, but the visual absurdity, the break in logic, triggers a mix of surprise and delight. The emotional trigger here isn't cruelty or humor alone. It's a sudden release from tension. Our brain expected one thing. Something else happened, and we found safety in the silliness. So laughter at its heart is not about the event itself, but about how we feel when that event unfolds. It's the emotional permission slip our brain gives us, saying it's okay to let go, it's okay to breathe. And yet, that same emotional permission can sometimes misfire. Have you ever been in a tense situation, a serious meeting, a hospital room, or even at a funeral, and felt an inappropriate urge to laugh? That's the emotional trigger short-circuiting. Your brain senses overwhelming tension and, in an effort to regulate emotion, reaches for the most effective release valve it knows: laughter. This strange reflex shows us just how tightly emotion and laughter are intertwined. It's not that we find those moments funny. It's that the brain, flooded with complex emotional signals, defaults to laughter as a kind of emotional reset, a sigh of the nervous system. When viewed this way, laughter is less a sign of amusement and more a deep emotional expression, a full-body reaction to how we're processing the world around us. It's both emotional and physical, conscious and instinctive. It is, quite beautifully, a mirror of the human condition itself. Let's journey a little deeper into the emotional landscape that gives rise to laughter. Imagine emotions as colors on a vast canvas. Joy is golden, sadness is blue, anxiety is a sharp shade of red. Laughter, however, is not just one color. It's a blend, a spectrum of emotion that dances between these shades. When we laugh, multiple emotions often coexist. We might laugh because we're happy, yes, but we can also laugh because we're embarrassed, uncertain, or trying to diffuse tension. It's the brain's way of balancing itself, an emotional equilibrium achieved through sound and motion. One of the most fascinating discoveries in neuroscience is that laughter often follows emotional contrast. For example, if we're startled or confused and then suddenly realize there's no real danger, our body releases that leftover tension through laughter. This is known as the relief theory of laughter, first suggested by Sigmund Freud. According to Freud, laughter is a form of psychic energy release. It's how we discharge emotional buildup once we know we're safe. Think about watching a suspenseful movie. There's a sudden jump scare, your heart races, and then, when the tension fades, you find yourself laughing, maybe even at how scared you were a moment ago. That laugh isn't about humor. It's about emotional balance. It's your nervous system exhaling. In moments of joy, laughter helps amplify our positive emotions, deepening our connections with others. In moments of stress, it helps us diffuse discomfort and regain control. Even when we're alone, a soft chuckle can soothe the mind, signaling safety to the body. It's as though laughter carries a hidden message. You can relax now. Interestingly, laughter's emotional triggers are influenced by context, by the people around us, the social cues we pick up, and the environment we're in. The same joke that feels hilarious among friends might feel awkward in a different crowd. That's because our emotional response is not only about the humor itself, but about shared understanding. When we laugh together, our emotional brains synchronize, like instruments in harmony. The release we feel becomes mutual. That's why laughter in a group feels more powerful than laughing alone. The emotional trigger in those moments is not just the content of what's said, but the comfort of belonging, of feeling connected. So laughter, though born from emotion, doesn't exist in isolation. It's an echo that bounces between minds, a signal of shared safety, shared experience, and shared emotion. Now let's slow down, breathe in, and observe one of life's simple truths. Laughter and emotion are inseparable. They dance together in every human interaction. Think of a baby's first laugh. It's not a reaction to humor, but a response to comfort, to a familiar face, to gentle tickles, to love. The emotional trigger there is warmth, connection, safety. As we grow, laughter becomes more complex, shaped by culture, language, and memory, but that emotional root remains. Sometimes, laughter arises precisely because our emotions are too big to contain. When we're overwhelmed by joy, shock, or even sadness, laughter spills out like an overflow. It's our brain's way of releasing what words cannot express. You might recall moments of nervous giggling before a big speech or a burst of laughter right after hearing unexpected news. These moments remind us that laughter isn't about control, it's about surrender. Even in scientific studies, researchers have observed that laughter triggers endorphin release, chemicals that reduce stress and create a sense of calm. These emotional triggers aren't random. They evolved to protect us, to help our ancestors navigate complex feelings and social interactions. In many ways, laughter is an emotional bridge that kept our species connected. And so, every laugh, whether joyful or misplaced, carries with it an emotional fingerprint. It tells the story of what we're feeling, even when we don't understand ourselves. It's this mystery, the delicate balance between emotion and expression, that makes laughter so human, so deeply fascinating, and so wonderfully strange. Laughter, at its core, is more than just a sound we make when something is funny. It's a language, a silent signal, a way our species says, we belong. Before words existed, before we had sentences to explain how we felt, laughter was already there, flowing effortlessly between early humans as a bridge of emotion, a way to bond, to connect, and to build trust. When we laugh with someone, something powerful happens. Our brain begins to synchronize with theirs. Heart rates align, facial expressions mirror each other, and a quiet wave of mutual understanding settles in. It's almost as if laughter creates a small invisible thread, weaving one person's inner world to another's. This is why, even today, laughter spreads so easily in groups. It's contagious not because of what's said, but because of what's felt. Scientists studying social behavior have often called laughter the glue of human connection. It strengthens relationships and eases social boundaries. A gentle laugh can diffuse tension in a difficult conversation, soften conflict, and invite empathy where words might fail. Imagine a room full of strangers. Everyone sits quietly, cautious and polite. Then someone laughs, genuinely, freely, warmly. Within seconds, the entire atmosphere changes. Shoulders relax, eyes meet, smiles spread. That one moment of shared laughter becomes a silent invitation. It's safe here. We can connect. Evolutionarily, laughter served this purpose long before humor did. In early human tribes, laughter was used as a form of social communication, a way to indicate safety and playfulness. It told others, we're not fighting, we're friendly. Anthropologists believe that laughter evolved from the panting sound to play among primates, a rhythmic signal that said, this is fun, not aggression. Even among chimpanzees and bonobos, laughter-like sounds occurred during play, reinforcing trust and cooperation. What's fascinating is how deeply this instinct remains in us. When we laugh, our brains release oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It's the same chemical that strengthens emotional connection between mothers and babies, or between close friends and lovers. That's why shared laughter doesn't just make us feel good. It makes us feel closer. Laughter tells our nervous system that we are not alone, that the people around us are safe, approachable, and on our side. It's nature's way of softening social walls. Even in silence, after laughter fades, a subtle connection lingers. You can feel in the gentle calm that follows, that quiet comfort between people who have just shared something unspoken. It's not just amusement, it's unity. Let's drift deeper into this idea. the way laughter binds us like invisible thread. In modern life, we sometimes think of laughter as entertainment, something to fill a moment of fun. But beneath the surface, it's still a fundamental social act. You see, when we laugh, we're not just reacting to something funny. We're signaling to others that we understand that we're part of the same story. Psychologists have found that people are up to 30 times more likely to laugh in a group than when alone. It's a reminder that laughter isn't primarily about jokes. It's about people. It's the emotional handshake that says, I get you. Watch how friends laugh together, how they lean slightly forward, make eye contact, or echo each other's tones. Those little cues, the giggle, the snort, the shared grin, are actually micro-behaviors of bonding. It's how our brains confirm, we're safe here, we belong. And it's not just close friends. Even among strangers, laughter can create a quick bridge of connection. In workplaces, laughter can improve team cohesion and boost creativity. In classrooms, it can ease anxiety and help students feel more comfortable. In therapy, shared laughter between a client and therapist can gently break barriers that words alone cannot. Think about the last time you were with someone who made you laugh effortlessly. How afterward you felt more open, more trusting. That's not coincidence. It's chemistry. The oxytocin released through laughter doesn't just make you happy. It increases empathy, lowers defensiveness, and enhances your sense of belonging. Laughter also has a quiet social intelligence to it. It helps us navigate emotions without confrontation. When someone makes a small mistake or says something awkward, a soft laugh can ease embarrassment, helping everyone move on gently. It's like the mind's way of smoothing rough edges. In groups, laughter has another magical function. It aligns emotional energy. If one person is anxious and another relaxed, shared laughter can bring both to a balanced state. It's a natural form of emotional synchronization. This is why comedies, family gatherings, and playful moments feel so good. They're not just entertainment. They're rituals of connection, moments where everyone breathes in the same rhythm for a little while. Even in difficult times, in hospitals, during grief, or in long nights of uncertainty, shared laughter can feel like a fragile but powerful light, a soft reminder that life continues, that we still have each other, that no matter how heavy things are, there's still warmth in the bond between hearts. Now, imagine this thought gently. If laughter is the social glue of human life, then every laugh we share is a thread in the great tapestry of connection. Each giggle, each smile, each moment of mirth adds another link in the chain that holds our species together. When we laugh, we briefly step out of the boundaries of me and you. In those few seconds, there's only us. That's why people who laugh together often report feeling more aligned, as if they understand each other better, even without speaking. This sense of shared humanity is what laughter nurtures most beautifully. It transcends language, culture, and even time. Across the world, laughter sounds remarkably similar. Whether you're in a bustling city in Japan, a quiet village in Africa, or a cafe in Europe, laughter rings the same, rhythmic, breathy, full of life. It's our universal dialect of joy. And yet, beneath that joy, there's also vulnerability. To laugh is to open yourself, to show emotion, to let go of control, to trust that those around you won't harm you for revealing that lightness. It's a small act of courage, really, and that courage builds community. In a world that often feels divided, laughter reminds us that our similarities outweigh our differences, that somewhere deep down, we all respond to the same gentle triggers, a moment of irony, a shared relief, a spark of absurdity. So when we laugh with others, really laugh, we're not just sharing a sound. We're sharing humanity itself. It's no wonder that laughter therapy and group laughter sessions are now used across hospitals and care centers. When people laugh together, their pain thresholds rise, their stress levels drop, and their overall sense of well-being improves. But more importantly, they stop feeling alone. In the soft light of laughter, walls dissolve, hearts open, and we find again and again that the simplest act, the act of laughing, is one of the most profound expressions of being alive together. Laughter is not just joy. It's connection. It's communication. It's love disguised as sound. There are moments, quiet, confusing moments, when laughter arrives uninvited. You might be in a serious conversation or standing in a tense, uncertain silence, and suddenly, for reasons you can't quite explain, you feel that small, rising urge to laugh. You know it isn't the right time. You even try to stop it, but the harder you resist, the stronger it grows, until, inevitably, a little chuckle escapes, awkward, misplaced, and utterly human. This is nervous laughter, a curious, paradoxical reflex that reveals just how complex our emotional wiring truly is. At first glance, it seems strange that we would laugh in uncomfortable situations. Why, when we're anxious, scared, or embarrassed, would our brain trigger something that's usually associated with happiness and amusement? The answer, as it turns out, lies deep within the brain's emotional regulation system. That intricate balance between tension and release, between fear and safety. You see, nervous laughter isn't about humor at all. It's about survival. When our brain senses emotional overload, too much tension, too much uncertainty, it scrambles to find a way to regulate those feelings. Laughter, being one of the fastest ways to release emotional pressure, becomes the body's emergency valve. Imagine you're in a serious meeting, and someone accidentally says something slightly awkward. The tension rises instantly. Everyone feels it. And then one person lets out a tiny laugh. A few others follow. The moment softens. The air clears. That collective nervous laughter wasn't rudeness. It was relief. Neuroscientists have found that nervous laughter activates the same brain regions as genuine laughter. The amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the periaqueductal gray, among others, but with one key difference. In nervous laughter, these regions are fighting against stress signals from the prefrontal cortex. The brain is essentially trying to send itself a message. Calm down. You're okay. And so, laughter becomes a coping mechanism, an instinctive, physiological attempt to restore emotional balance. In psychology, this phenomenon is sometimes called incongruous effect, when our emotional expression doesn't seem to match our situation. But when viewed with compassion, nervous laughter isn't inappropriate at all. It's deeply human. It's the sound of our nervous system trying to steady itself. Think about the moments when laughter has bubbled up during grief, or during fear, or even during anger. It might have felt wrong, but in truth, it was your brain's gentle way of protecting you from emotional overflow. A nervous laugh, however awkward, is often your mind's whisper saying, "This is too much. Let me make it lighter." In that sense, nervous laughter isn't a mistake. It's a form of self-care hidden inside a reflex. Let's move gently deeper into what actually happens within the body during nervous laughter. When we experience tension or fear, the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, activates immediately. It releases a flood of stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol, preparing the body to react. Our heart rate increases, our muscles tighten, our breathing changes. We're ready for fight or flight. But sometimes there's nowhere for that tension to go. We're not in danger, but our brain thinks we might be. It detects something uncertain, uncomfortable, or socially risky. And in that moment of confusion, it tries to balance the scales. To offset that rising stress, it sends a signal to trigger laughter. The same breath patterns used in genuine laughter, the short bursts of exhalation, the tightening of facial muscles, help regulate breathing and oxygen flow. They gently calm the nervous system, lower stress hormones, and activate the parasympathetic response, the body's rest and digest mode. So even though the situation may not be funny, the laughter helps return physiological stability. It's fascinating, really, how laughter evolved not just to express joy, but also to manage discomfort. One study conducted by psychologist Robert Provini, a pioneer in laughter research, showed that most laughter in social situations isn't triggered by jokes at all. Instead, it arises in moments of communication tension, when people are unsure, embarrassed, or seeking reassurance. In those moments, laughter smooths the interaction. It signals, I'm not a threat, I'm trying to connect. So, in a strange way, nervous laughter isn't just about calming ourselves. It's also about calming others. When we feel awkward, we often sense that the people around us might too. Laughter becomes a small bridge, a sound that says, I know this is weird, but it's okay. You might notice this in medical settings, for example, where doctors or patients sometimes laugh during difficult conversations, or in moments of fear, such as during turbulence on a plane, when people chuckle nervously at every bump. That laughter isn't mockery. It's the body's attempt to transform vulnerability into connection. Nervous laughter also highlights the incredible sensitivity of human social awareness. We don't just respond to the content of a moment, but to its emotional undercurrents. When we sense unease, our brain instinctively looks for balance, and laughter, with its rhythmic sound and soothing physical release, provides that balance in the gentlest way possible. Now, let's explore the tender side of nervous laughter, the part that often goes unnoticed. We tend to judge ourselves harshly when we laugh at the wrong times. We call it inappropriate or insensitive. But perhaps, instead of shame, what we need is understanding. Because behind every nervous laugh is a person simply trying to find comfort in confusion. Imagine a child laughing quietly after breaking something precious. Not because they find it funny, but because they're frightened of the reaction. Or an adult who chuckles softly when receiving bad news. Not because they don't care, but because their mind is overwhelmed. That laugh is a fragile shield, a momentary escape from the weight of emotion. When viewed through compassion, nervous laughter becomes one of the most vulnerable expressions we have. It reveals our desire to cope, to belong, to make sense of feelings that are too big for words. In some cultures, people are even taught to use laughter as a social cushion, to ease awkwardness, to maintain harmony, to prevent shame. In Japan, for instance, laughter is sometimes used to soften uncomfortable emotions during polite conversation. It's not deception, it's emotional diplomacy. But when laughter comes at painful times, like during grief or fear, it can also be healing. Grief counselors often notice that their clients laugh while describing heartbreaking moments. That laughter, though it may seem misplaced, helps release pent-up emotion. It offers a brief rest from sorrow, a small breath of humanity amidst the storm. If we listen closely, nervous laughter tells us something about the mind's deep intelligence. It shows that the brain doesn't separate emotions into neat boxes. Fear and amusement, sadness and relief, they can all exist together. And sometimes, laughter is the only way to hold them at once. So the next time you feel that strange urge to laugh in an uncomfortable moment, pause, breathe, and know that your body is simply trying to care for you. It's trying to make the unbearable just a little lighter. In that moment, laughter is not the enemy of seriousness. It's its companion, a soft, trembling gesture of balance in a world full of emotion. Nervous laughter reminds us that even when our minds are tangled in contradiction, our bodies still seek harmony. It's a small human miracle, one that bridges tension with tenderness, discomfort with calm, and fear with the faintest spark of grace. There are few things more puzzling, and sometimes more embarrassing, than laughing when you know you shouldn't. You might be sitting in a solemn ceremony, a quiet classroom, or even a hospital waiting room, and suddenly, against all reason, you feel laughter rising from within you. You try to hold it in, to swallow it back, but it bubbles up uncontrollably, an involuntary sound that feels both freeing and deeply wrong. This strange and delicate contradiction is what we call inappropriate laughter. It's one of the most fascinating paradoxes in human behavior, a moment when joy and discomfort meet, when the brain's emotional circuits send mixed signals, and laughter becomes something far more mysterious than amusement. At its heart, inappropriate laughter isn't about finding tragedy funny. It's about how our brain navigates the unbearable. When emotions are too intense, when grief, tension, or fear reach their peak, laughter can suddenly appear as an escape route, a pressure valve for feelings too heavy to contain. You might have experienced this at a funeral, during a serious conversation, or while recalling a painful memory. A sudden giggle emerges, not from disrespect, but from the sheer confusion of conflicting emotions. The brain doesn't know how to classify the feeling. It's sadness, fear, and shock all at once. So it releases laughter, the one reflex that can momentarily lighten the load. Neuroscientists often describe this as emotional dissonance, when our internal state and external circumstances don't align. The brain, overwhelmed by mixed emotional input, attempts to recalibrate, and laughter, surprisingly, becomes the way it does so. This paradox has deep roots in human evolution. Early humans relied on laughter to signal safety and emotional release after danger. It helped the group calm down once a threat had passed. But as our emotional world became more complex, laughter sometimes began to misfire, appearing in situations where the brain couldn't tell whether it was truly safe or not. For example, if someone falls down in public and isn't hurt, people might laugh instinctively, even as they rush to help. The laughter, in that split second, isn't cruelty, it's confusion. The body witnesses a sudden shift from tension to relief, and laughter bursts out as a reflexive transition between those states. In that way, inappropriate laughter isn't always wrong. It's simply misplaced, a moment when the timing of emotion doesn't quite fit the scene. It's fascinating to realize that this behavior is not unique to humans. Even chimpanzees and bonobos, our closest relatives, produce laughter-like sounds during moments of surprise or mild distress, an ancient echo of the same paradox. To understand inappropriate laughter more deeply, we need to step into the inner workings of the brain, where emotion, control, and instinct constantly negotiate with one another. In a typical emotional response, the limbic system, which processes feelings, sends signals to the prefrontal cortex, which governs logic and social awareness. This dialogue ensures that our expressions match the situation. For instance, when you hear a sad story, your prefrontal cortex gently restrains your laughter circuits. But sometimes, under emotional pressure, that connection weakens. The limbic system overpowers the cortex, and laughter bursts through unfiltered. It's like an emotional short circuit, the wrong signal in the right place. Psychologists studying this phenomenon often point to cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when our thoughts, feelings, and actions don't align. When you're supposed to be solemn, but your brain is flooded with nervous tension, that contradiction manifests as laughter. It's not defiance. It's the mind's way of saying, I don't know what else to do. Take, for example, stories from medical professionals who often encounter inappropriate laughter. Nurses and doctors sometimes laugh quietly after witnessing deeply stressful events. Not because they find them funny, but because their brains are desperate for emotional relief. It's a defense mechanism, helping them stay functional in the face of suffering. Similarly, soldiers in combat, rescue workers in crises, and even grief counselors have reported laughter in moments of tragedy. To the outside observer, it may appear insensitive, but in truth, it's a fragile coping tool, the psyche's last attempt to protect itself from emotional collapse. There's also the social component of this paradox. When someone laughs in a serious moment, it creates discomfort not only for them, but for those around them. The mismatch of emotions can feel jarring, even disrespectful. But if we step back with understanding, we see that inappropriate laughter is rarely intentional. It's not born of mockery, but of tension. Interestingly, our bodies react in similar ways whether we're laughing from joy or from stress. Both involve rapid breathing, muscular contractions, and endorphin release. Both lighten the load, even if for very different reasons. The difference lies in the emotional story the brain attaches to sound. So, when laughter surfaces in sorrow or fear, it's not a betrayal feeling. It's the body's way of helping us survive it. Now, let's soften our gaze and see inappropriate laughter through a gentler lens. It's easy to judge ourselves for it, to feel shame after laughing when others expected silence. But beneath that awkwardness lies something profoundly human, the deep, instinctive yearning to find light in darkness, to anchor ourselves when emotional waves rise too high. There are moments in life that simply exceed our ability to comprehend. When grief is too raw or fear too vast, the mind reaches for any outlet that can ground us. And sometimes that outlet is laughter. You might remember stories of people who laughed uncontrollably during funerals or memorials, later describing it as something they couldn't stop, as if their body chose it for them. Those moments often leave behind guilt, but they shouldn't, because, though the timing was off, the laughter itself carried love, confusion, and pain all tangled together. It was, in its own way, honest. Even in ancient cultures, laughter held a place in mourning. In some African and Irish traditions, for example, laughter during funerals was seen as a way to celebrate the continuation of life, a reminder that death could not silence the spirit of joy completely. These customs recognize something science would later confirm, that laughter and sorrow are not opposites, but companions. Inappropriate laughter reveals this truth beautifully. It shows that human emotion is not black and white. It's a spectrum, fluid and unpredictable. Sometimes, laughter is the only sound that can carry pain without breaking under its weight. In neurological studies, there are cases of people with certain brain conditions, like pseudobulbar effect, a disorder where emotional expression becomes involuntary. These individuals might laugh or cry uncontrollably, even when they don't feel that emotion consciously. While such cases are clinical, they remind us that emotional expression is not entirely under our control. We are beings of feeling, complex, delicate, and often contradictory. So perhaps inappropriate laughter is not a failure of empathy, but a reflection of it. A moment when the boundaries between sadness, fear, and release blur, and laughter emerges as the brain's way of saying, I am trying to understand this. I am trying to cope. If we can learn to meet such moments with compassion, both in ourselves and others, then even inappropriate laughter becomes something meaningful. It becomes not an offense, but an echo of resilience. Because deep down, every misplaced laugh carries a quiet truth that the human heart, no matter how broken or afraid, still reaches for light, still seeks balance, still remembers how to breathe, even in the darkest of times. When you see someone laugh, really laugh, it's almost impossible not to smile yourself. Their eyes crinkle, their breath catches, and suddenly your own face begins to mirror theirs. The corners of your mouth lift, your chest loosens, and for a brief moment, you feel connected, as if your emotions are reflecting one another like two ripples in the same pond. This, in essence, is a beautiful mystery of mirror neurons. Hidden deep within our brains, these remarkable cells allow us to feel what others feel, to imitate their expressions, and even understand their intentions. When someone laughs, the mirror neurons in your brain activate in almost the same way as if you were laughing yourself. It's empathy at a microscopic level, the brain's quiet way of saying, I see you, I feel what you feel. The story of mirror neurons begins in the early 1990s inside a laboratory in Parma, Italy. A team of neuroscientists led by Giacomo Rizzolatti was studying how monkeys' brains control movement. They were monitoring neurons in the monkey's premotor cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and executing actions. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the researchers reached for a peanut, and suddenly, the monkey's brain cell fired, even though the monkey hadn't moved at all. The scientists were astonished. The same neuron that activated when the monkey grasped an object also fired when it watched someone else grasping the same object. It was as if the monkey's brain couldn't tell the difference between doing and seeing. They called these special cells mirror neurons because they reflected the actions of others within one's own neural circuits. When similar studies were conducted on humans using brain imaging, the results were profound. Scientists found that watching someone laugh, smile, or cry triggered the same neural pathways as actually performing those actions. In other words, we don't just observe emotions, we experience them internally through the silent language of neurons. This discovery reshaped our understanding of empathy, communication, and social connection. It explained why laughter is contagious, why yawns spread like whispers through a crowd, and why tears in a movie can stir emotions in people who know the story isn't real. Mirror neurons act as the brain's bridge between self and other, the delicate wiring that allows us to resonate with one another. Now imagine how this connects to laughter. When one person begins to laugh, even softly, the mirror neurons of the brains of those nearby light up in synchrony. The emotional energy transfers, almost electrically. Before long, the entire room is filled with laughter, each body echoing the joy of the next. This is why laughter is so deeply social. It's not merely an individual reaction, it's a shared experience. The human brain evolved to find comfort, understanding, and belonging through this mirroring process. Let's drift a little deeper into how mirror neurons shape our emotional world. You see, these neurons don't just mimic movement, they mirror intent. When we see someone smile, we don't just copy their facial muscles, we sense their happiness. When we hear someone laugh nervously, our brain recognizes the uncertainty behind the sound. In that sense, mirror neurons are emotional translators, decoding not only what we see, but why it's happening. This becomes especially important when we think about how laughter connects humans. A simple laugh can mean many things: amusement, relief, confusion, or even anxiety. Yet, through mirror neurons, we intuitively sense which one it is. We can feel the warmth in a genuine giggle or the tension in a forced one. Imagine a scene in a cafe. A group of friends is together. One of them starts laughing uncontrollably at a small mistake or joke. The others may not have even heard the punchline, but soon they're laughing too. The sound, the rhythm, the sight of joyful faces. All these cues activate their mirror neurons, spread emotion like fire through dry grass. And yet, this same mechanism works in reverse when laughter is inappropriate. When someone laughs at a serious moment, our mirror neurons detect not amusement, but discomfort. That's why the room suddenly feels tense. We subconsciously read the mismatch between emotion and context. This neural mirroring is the silent architecture of human empathy. It allows us to share experiences, to synchronize moods, and to find comfort in togetherness. Some scientists even believe that mirror neurons were the foundation of human language, the first bridge from sound to meaning. Before words, early humans relied on gestures, facial expressions, and laughter to communicate. The ability to mirror emotions may have been the evolutionary spark that made complex social life possible. But the story grows even more fascinating when we consider how laughter travels through the brain. When you hear someone laugh, the sound first reaches your auditory cortex, the region that processes sound. From there, signals travel to the premotor cortex, where mirror neurons live. Those neurons simulate the act of laughing within your own body, preparing your facial muscles and respiratory system to respond. At the same time, your limbic system, the emotional core of your brain, interprets the laughter's meaning. Is it joyful, nervous, playful, cruel? Within milliseconds, your brain decides whether to join in or remain silent. This dance of perception and response happens automatically, without conscious thought. It's the biological reason laughter spreads so easily in groups. In a way, we are all wired to laugh together. Now, imagine how deeply this mirroring connects us. Every shared laugh, every moment of emotional resonance, is a testament to the invisible symphony playing inside our minds. When mirror neurons fire, they align our emotional rhythms, synchronizing hearts, breaths, and even micro-expressions. It's this synchronization that makes laughter one of the most powerful social tools humans possess. In workplaces, laughter creates unity and eases tension. In friendships, it builds trust and deepens understanding. In families, it becomes the background music of love, the sound that reassures us that we are safe, accepted, and understood. Even in silence, mirror neurons whisper. If you've ever watched someone smile softly to themselves and felt your own lips curl in response, that's your mirror network at work, quietly echoing emotion without a single word exchanged. But this system also has a shadow side. Sometimes, mirror neurons reflect distress or discomfort so vividly that we begin to feel it ourselves. Watching someone cry can bring tears to our own eyes. Hearing laughter in the wrong moment can make us uneasy. Our brains are constantly absorbing emotional data, mirroring and interpreting, like silent observers of a universal play. And so, laughter becomes not only an expression of joy, but also a barometer of connection. If we can sense laughter's warmth through these neurons, we can also sense when it's missing. Think of a lonely person laughing alone. The sound carries differently, lacking the resonance of others' responses. Mirror neurons crave interaction. They thrive on shared emotion. That's why solitary laughter feels hollow, because laughter, by its nature, is designed to be felt together. Some researchers believe that mirror neurons may even play a role in therapeutic laughter, where people intentionally use laughter to heal emotional pain. When one person begins to laugh during therapy, even artificially, the therapist's mirror neurons engage, subtly influencing the emotional tone of the room. Gradually, the laughter becomes genuine, a feedback loop of healing connection. In this sense, mirror neurons don't just reflect emotion, they help transform it. So the next time you hear someone laugh, whether it's a quiet chuckle or a booming roar, know that something extraordinary is happening inside you. Your brain is lighting up, mirroring, resonating, and reaching out. That laughter is not just sound. It's a signal, a neural handshake between two minds, a shared spark of understanding that says, we are not alone. And perhaps that is why laughter feels so good, because every time we laugh together, we remember that connection is the essence of being human. When we laugh, something almost magical happens inside the body. It's not just a sound or a smile or a fleeting moment of joy. It's a full-body symphony, quietly orchestrated by the nervous system, the heart, and even the lungs. Laughter begins with a simple trigger, a thought, a surprise, a moment of connection. But within seconds, the brain sends signals cascading down to the body, and the transformation begins. Your facial muscles contract first, lifting the corners of your mouth, creasing the skin around your eyes. The chest tightens, your diaphragm, that thin sheet of muscle beneath your lungs, begins to rhythmically contract. Air is expelled in short bursts. Ha, ha, ha. Your heart rate quickens. Blood pressure rises for just a moment, and then, as the laughter fades, everything relaxes. The tension dissolves like mist under sunlight. It's as though your entire body has taken a deep collective breath and exhaled the weight of the world. Scientists have long studied this sequence, fascinated by how laughter manages to touch nearly every system in the body. The act of laughing involves over a dozen facial muscles, the diaphragm, the larynx, and even tiny muscles between the ribs. It's one of the most complex involuntary responses we have, and one of the most rewarding. In those moments of laughter, stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline drop, while endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, surge through the bloodstream. These chemicals create a sense of euphoria, a soft glow of well-being that lingers even after the laughter stops. It's no coincidence that people describe laughter as a relief, because physiologically, that's exactly what it is. When we laugh, we release not just emotion, but tension, too. A researcher named William Fry, often called the father of gelotology, the study of laughter, once compared laughter to internal jogging. He observed that just 1 minute of hearty laughter could produce similar cardiovascular benefits to a few minutes of exercise. The lungs take in more oxygen, circulation improves, and the muscles of the body engage in a rhythmic contraction and release pattern that leaves us physically lighter. And then something else happens, something subtle but profound. After laughter, the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of our body responsible for rest and recovery, becomes dominant. Your heartbeat slows, your breathing steadies, the muscles loosen, as if sighing in relief. The body shifts gently from alertness to calm, from effort to ease, from tension to tranquility. In a way, laughter acts as nature's reset button, allowing the body to discharge stress and return to balance. Let's imagine for a moment that laughter is a wave, rising, cresting, and falling through the body. It begins in the brain, of course, in the limbic system, where emotion takes form. The signal travels down through the hypothalamus to the brainstem, where it coordinates with muscles in the chest and face. It's here that laughter takes on its rhythm, its sound, its movement. Your diaphragm contracts, pressing upward against your lungs. Air rushes out, creating the burst of sound that we recognize as laughter. Your vocal cords vibrate, shaping the sound into soft chuckles or bright giggles. As you laugh, the muscles of your abdomen tense and release in waves. The physical motion massages the stomach and intestines, stimulating digestion. The blood vessels in your body widen slightly, improving circulation and oxygen flow. Even your immune system listens and responds. Studies have shown that laughter increases the production of natural killer cells and antibodies, strengthening the body's defenses against illness. In essence, laughter is medicine, one prescribed by evolution itself. But the effects go beyond biology. They extend into how we feel in our bodies. Have you ever noticed how, after a good laugh, your shoulders drop? How your body feels looser, lighter, softer? It's not just in your mind. It's a physical release of muscular tension. We carry stress in hidden places, in our jaws, our necks, our chests. Laughter gently unravels those knots, one ripple at a time. Even the simple act of smiling can trigger micro-releases of tension throughout the body. It's as though the body recognizes laughter as a signal. It's safe now. You can relax. There's also something beautifully rhythmic about the way laughter moves through us, like waves breaking gently on a shore. Each burst of sound carries energy outward and then returns us to stillness. The breath that follows laughter is deeper, slower, more peaceful than before. And perhaps that's why laughter feels so cleansing. It's an emotional and physical exhale, a release of pressure we didn't even know we were holding. Sometimes, laughter arrives in the most unexpected moments, during nervous tension, grief, or confusion. And even then, the body responds with the same gentle rhythm. The brain doesn't always distinguish between good or bad laughter. It only recognizes a movement, the breath, the shift in chemistry. That's why even awkward laughter can bring comfort, because the body interprets it as a momentary break in the storm. Laughter, in that sense, is the body's way of whispering, I need this release, even now. Now, let's drift even deeper into what happens after the laughter fades. The body settles. The rhythm slows. Breathing becomes quiet again. And yet, a residue of warmth lingers. That lingering feeling, that lightness, that soft contentment, is the work of endorphins and dopamine, two neurotransmitters that bathe the brain in calm satisfaction. It's the same gentle chemistry that follows a good meal, a walk in the sun, or a deep, fulfilling sigh. This is why laughter feels so deeply restorative. It's a full-circle process of stimulation and soothing, excitement and calm, energy and rest. Even the heart benefits. After laughter, heart rate variability, the measure how flexibly your heart responds to changes, improves. A flexible heart is a healthy heart. It means your body can adapt more easily to stress, like a reed bending in the wind. And then there's the way laughter connects body and breath. You might notice that laughter often leads to sighing, a long, deep breath that follows a fit of giggles. This sigh isn't random. It's the body's natural mechanism for regaining equilibrium. It signals to the brain that the moment of heightened emotion has passed, and peace can return. This cycle of laughter and breath mirrors meditation, the rise and fall, the tension and release. In fact, some mindfulness practitioners encourage intentional laughter as a form of breathing exercise. In those moments, laughter becomes more than just reaction. It becomes ritual, a soft, human reminder that the body and mind are always in dialogue, always seeking balance. And when you laugh with someone else, that dialogue expands. Your breathing synchronizes, your heart rates align, your body chemistry begins to mirror one another. It's a physical manifestation of connection, two bodies responding to a single emotional rhythm. Even babies, long before they can speak, share laughter with their caregivers. Their small lungs puff out little bursts of joy, their eyes sparkle, and the parent instinctively laughs back. That shared rhythm builds trust, safety, and love. It's one of the first ways we learn what it feels like to be connected, not just emotionally, But physically, laughter, then, is both movement and stillness. It is energy and release, effort and ease. It reminds the body that it's alive, adaptable, and resilient. Every laugh, no matter how brief or quiet, is a message written into the language of the body. You are safe now. You are human. You can let go. And so, when you next find yourself laughing, even softly, even for no reason at all, know that your body is doing something profound. It's healing, recalibrating, and remembering the joy of being alive. Laughter doesn't just change the way we feel, it changes the way we see. When we laugh, something subtle yet powerful happens inside the mind. The world softens, edges blur, and for a few gentle moments, reality feels lighter, as if the mind has briefly stepped out of the weight of ordinary thought. This is a quiet, mysterious power of laughter. It reshapes perception itself. Imagine a moment of tension, perhaps at work or during a serious conversation. The air feels heavy. Thoughts are sharp. Every sound seems louder than it should. And then, unexpectedly, someone says something slightly absurd, maybe even unintentional. A small laugh escapes. Then another. Suddenly, the entire atmosphere shifts. What felt rigid becomes flexible. What seemed serious begins to loosen around the edges. The laughter doesn't erase the problem, but it reframes it. That's one of laughter's most curious gifts. It changes the frame of how we interpret our experiences. Neuroscientists call this cognitive reappraisal, the ability to view the same situation from a different emotional angle. When we laugh, the emotional centers of the brain, the amygdala and limbic system, quiet down, while areas involved in perspective and insight light up, particularly the prefrontal cortex. This shift allows the brain to temporarily distance itself from stress, anxiety, or rigid thinking, opening the door to new interpretations. It's almost as if laughter creates a small window in the mind, a breath of clarity through which we can see our problems in softer light. In psychology, this is sometimes referred to as the humor effect, the tendency for humor to make us more flexible thinkers. People who laugh more often tend to find creative solutions more easily, because laughter lowers the emotional barriers that normally limit imagination. In that sense, laughter is not just an emotional response. It's a tool for perception. Think of the way comedians describe truth. A good joke, they say, is about seeing things differently. And that's exactly what laughter does in the brain. It bends perception gently toward openness and understanding. Even when laughter feels inappropriate, as it sometimes does in moments of stress or grief, it can serve this quiet perceptual function. It helps the mind create a small emotional distance, a way of coping when feelings are too heavy to hold all at once. That strange laugh in the middle of sadness, it's not disrespectful. It's the brain's way of saying, I need to breathe. Let's drift a little deeper into how laughter shifts our emotional lenses. Every emotion we feel colors our perception of reality. Anger narrows it. Fear distorts it. Sadness dims it. But laughter expands it. In moments of laughter, our brain releases a cocktail of neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, that alter both mood and cognition. These chemicals act like sunlight through fog, allowing us to see the same world with greater warmth and tolerance. For instance, studies have shown that people who watch something humorous before solving a problem perform better than those who watch something neutral. The laughter boosts mental flexibility and associative thinking, the ability to connect unrelated ideas. It's as though the mind, after laughter, becomes more fluid. And this effect extends beyond cognition. It changes how we feel about others. Have you ever noticed how shared laughter makes people seem more trustworthy? When you laugh with someone, your brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone linked to bonding and affection. It strengthens social connection, but also alters perception. People appear friendlier, more familiar, and less threatening. In this way, laughter reshapes not only the inner world, but also the outer one. When two people share laughter, even strangers, the world momentarily feels safer. Barriers dissolve. The mind, so use a dividing self and other, forgets its boundaries. For a few seconds, perception becomes communal. This, perhaps, is why laughter plays such a vital role in diplomacy, teaching, therapy, and even conflict resolution. It opens doors that words alone cannot. A laugh can disarm hostility faster than reason ever could. But the true beauty of laughter, perceptual power, lies in its gentleness. It doesn't force change, it allows it. Like ripples on a still pond, laughter travels softly through the mind, shifting thoughts, loosening assumptions, and reminding us that seriousness is not the only lens through which to see the world. There's a quiet wisdom in that, a reminder that perspective is as fluid as emotion. In ancient philosophy, some sages even believed that laughter was divine, a spark of enlightenment that revealed the absurdity of rigid thinking. They saw humor as a bridge between the rational and the mysterious. And indeed, when we laugh at life's contradictions, we step momentarily outside them. We glimpse the vastness of experience, where tragedy and comedy coexist like twin waves on the same sea. Now, let's float further into the softer edges of this idea. When we laugh, the brain momentarily releases its grip on control. It surrenders just a little to the unexpected, the absurd, the unpredictable. And in that surrender lies a kind of freedom. Laughter lets us see the world as it is, chaotic, beautiful, imperfect, without judgment. It loosens the mind's tight hold on expectation and certainty. That's why, after laughter, the world feels lighter. We're not looking through the lens of perfection anymore. We're seeing through the lens of acceptance. Perception becomes gentler. Colors seem brighter. Moments seem slower. People seem more human. Laughter reminds us that life isn't a problem to solve. It's a mystery to experience. It's no coincidence that children laugh hundreds of times a day, while adults often forget to. Children's worlds are still elastic. Their perceptions are still alive with wonder. Each laugh keeps the mind open, curious, and forgiving. As adults, we learn to take the world seriously, sometimes too seriously. Laughter brings us back, even briefly, to that childlike clarity. It strips away the noise and leaves only presence, this moment, this breath, this feeling. And when we laugh at ourselves, the effect deepens. Self-directed laughter is perhaps the purest form of perceptual liberation. It's the mind recognizing its own foolishness and smiling anyway. It's the ego loosening its grip, saying, I see now. I was holding too tightly. Through that gentle humor, we rediscover humility, and with it, peace. Even in the darkest times, laughter can transform how we see pain. It doesn't deny it, but it changes its shape. It gives sorrow space to breathe. It allows light to enter cracks. That's why, in hospitals, laughter therapy isn't about ignoring illness. It's about reframing it. Patients who laugh often report feeling less pain, less fear, and more control. Their perception of suffering changes, even when the condition itself does not. Because perception isn't passive, it's active. It's a dance between mind and meaning. And laughter is that moment when meaning takes a deep breath and lets go. So perhaps laughter doesn't just alter perception, it heals it. It reminds the mind that life, for all its confusion and contradiction, is still worth smiling at. And in that quiet, blissful space after laughter, when the breath slows, when the smile lingers, the world seems kinder, and so do we. There's a curious duality within laughter, a delicate thread that ties joy and unease together. We laugh when we're happy, yes, but sometimes we laugh when we're scared, anxious, or deeply uncomfortable. It's a strange, almost paradoxical response, a moment when the body releases something it can't quite contain. And in those moments, laughter becomes not just an expression of happiness, but a coping mechanism for the mind. To understand this connection, we must look closely at what anxiety truly is. Anxiety is, in essence, the anticipation of uncertainty. It's the body preparing for something it cannot predict. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, breath shortens. The nervous system mobilizes for action. But when the pressure becomes too great, when emotion surges beyond what words can manage, the body sometimes finds another outlet, a burst of laughter. Psychologists have long observed that laughter and anxiety are deeply intertwined. Both are responses to intense emotional energy. Both are rooted in the limbic system, particularly in the amygdala and hypothalamus, the regions responsible for processing fear, stress, and pleasure. When we experience a sudden release of anxiety, laughter can emerge spontaneously, as if the brain is exhaling its tension. Think of the laughter that follows a near accident, that shaky, breathless laugh that comes after realizing you're safe. That sound isn't amusement, it's relief. The nervous system, flooded with adrenaline, finds balance again through laughter. In that sense, laughter and anxiety are two sides of the same coin, both expressions of emotional overflow. One constricts, the other releases. One tightens the chest, the other opens it. And so, even though they seem opposites, they coexist in a kind of physiological dance. The science behind this is fascinating. When we laugh, the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's relaxation system, activates, counterbalancing the fight or flight response triggered by anxiety. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, muscles relax. The brain releases dopamine and endorphins, chemicals that soothe fear and restore equilibrium. Laughter, then, becomes a bridge between tension and calm. It's the body's natural way of saying, "You've held too much. Let it go now." Let's wander a little deeper into the psychology of nervous laughter. You've probably experienced it before, that awkward giggle that slips out during a serious conversation or in a tense silence, or even at a funeral. You know it's not appropriate, and yet you can't stop it. It's one of the most confusing emotional reactions we have, but it's also one of the most human. Researchers call this incongruous effect. When emotion doesn't match the situation, it's not that the person finds the situation funny. It's that their body needs a release, and laughter happens to be the fastest way to achieve it. In moments of extreme stress, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-control and social awareness, becomes overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the more primal limbic system takes over, responding instinctively rather than rationally. Laughter, in these moments, acts almost like a pressure valve. It's a reflex, not a choice. When anxiety builds up, whether from fear, embarrassment, or grief, the body needs to dissipate that energy somehow. Crying, trembling, or laughing all serve the same purpose, to discharge emotional tension. And sometimes, laughter simply wins the race. There's also an element of social defense within it. Nervous laughter can signal to others that you're not a threat, even when you feel uncomfortable. It's a nonverbal way of saying, "I mean no harm. I just don't know how to feel right now." In this way, laughter becomes an emotional disguise, masking anxiety while subtly expressing it. A classic example of this can be found in public speaking. Many people laugh lightly before beginning a speech, not because they're amused, but because laughter helps regulate nervous energy. It steadies the breath, loosens the chest, and briefly interrupts the cycle of anxious thought. Even actors, surgeons, or soldiers have reported using laughter in moments of stress as a way of breaking tension and grounding themselves. In some cases, laughter becomes ritualized. Emergency responders and healthcare workers, for example, often share dark humor among themselves. It's not cruelty, it's survival. It's a form of emotional resilience, allowing them to cope with situations that might otherwise feel unbearable. In these contexts, laughter is not a betrayal of empathy. It's a shield made of sound, a soft reminder that even in fear, humanity endures. Now, let's step softly into the deeper layers, the emotional and spiritual side of this connection. Anxiety at its core is about control. It's the mind's attempt to predict and prevent pain. But laughter, real, full, unguarded laughter, is about surrender. It's the moment when the mind stops trying to control and simply feels. That's why laughter can be so therapeutic for anxious minds. It pulls us out of the spiral of overthinking and places us gently in the present moment, the one place anxiety cannot live. In those seconds of laughter, time dissolves. The body breathes again. The world, though unchanged, feels less heavy. This is why laughter yoga, a practice combining intentional laughter with breathing exercises, has become such a powerful tool for anxiety relief. The body doesn't distinguish between fake and real laughter first. Both trigger the same physical responses. But over time, the motion becomes genuine and so does the calm. It's a beautiful paradox. You can laugh your way into peace. Neurologically, this happens because laughter shifts brainwave patterns. During deep laughter, the brain produces alpha waves, the same waves associated with relaxation and meditative states. These waves quiet the noise of anxious thought and replace it with gentle focus. And perhaps more importantly, laughter restores a sense of proportion. When we're anxious, everything feels magnified. A small worry becomes a mountain. A single mistake feels like collapse. But laughter, even the smallest chuckle, shrinks those mountains back to size. It reminds us that perspective is fluid and that fear is rarely as permanent as it feels. Even in therapy, humor is sometimes used as a subtle tool to reach anxious patients. A shared laugh with a therapist can dissolve walls that hours of conversation could not. It builds safety. It reminds the anxious mind that connection is possible even through vulnerability, because laughter, in its truest form, is vulnerability. To laugh is to let go. And when we let go, even briefly, anxiety loses its grip. So, perhaps that's the hidden wisdom behind our tendency to laugh at the wrong times. It's not foolishness. It's not insensitivity. It's the nervous system trying to find its way back to balance. A tiny spark of life in the midst of fear. A reminder, whispered through breath and sound, that even when the mind trembles, the soul still remembers how to smile. Because somewhere deep within us, laughter and anxiety are not enemies. They are dance partners. One leads us into tension, the other leads us out, and together, they remind us what it means to feel. There's a gentle magic in laughter, one that hums softly beneath the noise of everyday life. It's more than a reaction to humor, more than a sound that fills a room. Laughter, when we really look at it, is medicine, a natural therapy, whispered from the body to the mind. For centuries, humans have known this instinctively. Ancient texts from many cultures spoke of laughter as a healing force. The Bible mentions that a merry heart doeth good like medicine. Ancient Chinese physicians prescribed joy and mirth as part of maintaining inner balance. Even in the medieval world, scholars observed that laughter could ease melancholy, the old word for depression. But now, science is catching up to what the soul always knew. Today, researchers study laughter as a legitimate field, gelotology, from the Greek gelos, meaning laughter. It explores how laughter influences both the mind and the body, and the findings are astonishingly clear. Laughter heals. When you laugh, your body performs a delicate symphony of changes. Your diaphragm expands and contracts rhythmically. Your heart rate first rises, then gently slows. Lungs fill deeply, pulling oxygen into every corner of the body. This creates what scientists call a mini aerobic exercise. After a good laugh, blood pressure drops, muscles relax, cortisol, the stress hormone, declines. Meanwhile, dopamine and endorphins surge. These natural chemicals create a sense of euphoria and relief, like sunlight melting through clouds. But laughter's most beautiful quality is its ability to heal what cannot be seen, the emotional bruises we carry quietly within. When people laugh together, something inside them shifts. Walls dissolve. Time softens. Connection returns. The nervous system, often trapped in cycles of stress, begins to unwind. Laughter creates what psychologists call emotional coherence, a temporary harmony between the body systems, where heart rhythm, breath, and emotion move in sync. In this state, healing is not only possible, it's inevitable. Think for a moment about how laughter feels when you're truly free. Not forced, not polite, but real. It floods you. For those few seconds, there's no worry, no self-consciousness, no future or past. Just release. That's what makes it therapeutic. It reminds you the lightness that has always lived within. Even hospitals today recognize this. Programs known as laughter therapy or clown care bring trained performers into children's wards, oncology centers, and recovery units. Their job is simple, to make patients laugh. But the results go beyond smiles. Studies show that laughter therapy boosts immune function, increases pain tolerance, and even improves recovery outcomes. In some cases, patients receiving regular laughter interventions report reduced fatigue, better sleep, and an overall sense of peace. And perhaps that's because laughter bypasses logic. It reaches the heart directly, the part that still remembers joy, even when the mind forgets. Let's drift now into a gentler corner of this idea, where laughter meets mindfulness. When you laugh, you're forced into the present moment. You can't laugh and overthink at the same time. You can't laugh and dwell in fear. The act of laughing, physically, roots you in now. This is why many therapists compare laughter to meditation. Both suspend inner dialogue. Both slow breathing. Both reset the nervous system to balance. Some mindfulness practitioners even teach laughter meditation, a simple practice where individuals sit quietly, breathe, and allow themselves to smile, then softly chuckle, then let that sound grow into a natural rhythm. It may begin as artificial, but soon it becomes real, and in that laughter, tension melts. Even the body responds as though it recognizes an ancient code. Ah, yes, this is how release feels. In this way, laughter becomes not just emotional therapy, but somatic therapy, a physical expression of letting go. One powerful example comes from patients recovering from trauma. For many, laughter seems impossible at first, even offensive in the face of what they've endured. But as healing begins, small sparks of humor reappear. A gentle smile here, a quiet laugh there. And those small sounds often signal something profound, the return of safety. You see, Trauma traps the nervous system in a constant state of alertness. Laughter can't exist easily in that space because laughter requires surrender. But when laughter begins to return, it's proof that the body is learning again to trust the world. That's the therapeutic gift of laughter. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about reminding the body that it's safe enough to feel joy again. In clinical psychology, this principle is used in various ways. Therapists sometimes introduce humor into sessions. A small shared laugh to reduce fear, to show the patient that they're human together. This isn't superficial cheerfulness. It's connection. Humor breaks the rigidity of pain, like sunlight breaking through clouds. It's a soft signal to the subconscious. You are still alive. You can still feel. Even in group therapy, laughter has shown remarkable results. It strengthens bonds, builds empathy, and encourages self-acceptance. When people laugh together, especially at shared human struggles, shame begins to dissolve. Because laughter says you're not alone. And now, let's drift deeper into the soul of it. What if laughter is more than just therapy? What if it's communication between body and spirit, between chaos and calm? Perhaps that's why laughter often arrives unexpectedly, during moments of released clarity or even after tears. It's the psyche's way of rebalancing itself, the light that follows a storm. This is a philosophy behind laughter yoga, a therapeutic practice now embraced worldwide. Founded by Dr. Madan Kataria in the 1990s, it combines deep breathing with intentional laughter. Groups gather in circles, make eye contact, and begin laughing, even if it feels forced. Within minutes, the laughter becomes genuine. Why? Because the brain doesn't fully distinguish between real and fake laughter at first. Both trigger endorphins, both lower stress hormones, both signal safety. But as people share it, authenticity blooms. Soon, the laughter becomes real, and so does the calm that follows. Participants often describe a sense of weight lifting from their chests, a tingling warmth in their bodies, tears mixed with joy. Some even experience spontaneous insights or emotional breakthroughs. In those moments, laughter becomes prayer, a joyful release into the unknown. Doctors, too, have observed measurable benefits. Patients practicing daily laughter yoga showed improved immune markers, reduced chronic pain, and enhanced mood. In some studies, even blood sugar levels improved among diabetic participants, all from daily laughter. And beyond the science, there's a poetic truth. Laughter is one of the last pure expressions of the soul. It cannot be faked indefinitely, nor can it be suppressed forever. It's raw, honest, cleansing. In the therapeutic sense, laughter reminds us that healing isn't about removing pain. It's about remembering joy alongside it. That's the gentle balance of the human heart. Some nights, when silence feels too heavy, try a quiet laugh to yourself, even a small one. Feel how it softens the edges of the mind. Feel how your breath deepens, your body loosens, your heart opens. That small act, that soft sound, is you telling your nervous system, I'm safe. Because laughter, truly, is safety made audible. It's the sound of healing taking form, the whisper of wellness returning home. And perhaps that's the secret we've known all along. We don't laugh because life is perfect. We laugh because it isn't. And somehow, we're still here, still breathing, still capable of joy. That's the most therapeutic truth of all. And now, as the echoes of laughter begin to fade into the soft folds of silence, we reach the quiet conclusion of our journey. A journey that began with a question, why do we laugh at the wrong times? And unfolded into something far deeper. Through these moments, we've seen laughter not merely as sound, but as language, a bridge between the conscious and subconscious, between joy and sorrow. We've seen that laughter doesn't always belong to happiness. Sometimes it rises from nerves, confusion, or fear. Sometimes it visits us when we least expect it, like sunlight sneaking through a clouded sky. And that's part of its mystery. Laughter is not something we command. It's something we allow. If we listen closely, laughter tells us so much about who we are. It reveals that the human mind is complex, capable of holding two truths at once: fear and joy, sadness and hope. It shows that emotions are not neatly separated, but woven together like threads in a single tapestry. Even in appropriate laughter, those moments when we chuckle at the wrong time, has meaning. It's not rudeness or madness, but the body trying to find balance, to process emotions too large for silence. The brain, as we've explored, uses laughter as a tool to communicate, to release, to survive. And in that release lies something profoundly human. Every laugh, even the strangest one, reminds us that we are alive, that somewhere deep within there's still movement, still warmth, still a pulse that wants to feel. And maybe that's why laughter has followed humanity through every age, every culture, every hardship. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity, a built-in reminder that life, even at its most confusing, is still worth embracing. There's something beautifully paradoxical about that. We laugh at pain. We laugh at fear. We laugh in sorrow. And through that laughter, we find healing. So as we drift deeper into this gentle reflection, think for a moment about your own laughter. The soft, small giggles, the uncontrollable bursts, the awkward chuckles that surprised you. Each one was a message from your body, from your soul, saying it's okay, you're still here. And maybe that's all laughter really is, a tiny echo of resilience. In this quiet middle, let's imagine what the world would feel like without laughter. A world where every emotion stayed locked inside. No release, no rhythm, no relief. It would be a heavy place. Still, perhaps, but not peaceful. Calm, but not alive. Because laughter is movement. It's the breath of the human spirit. It doesn't matter what language you speak or where you come from. A laugh is universal. It's the one sound understood by everyone, across oceans, across cultures, across time. From the laughter of newborn babies to the quiet chuckle of an old soul reminiscing. It's the same melody of life carried through generations. Even animals share this magic. Scientists have discovered that rats, when tickled, emit ultrasonic chirps, the rodent version of laughter. Great apes, like chimpanzees, laugh during play. Even dolphins produce playful vocal bursts when interacting joyfully. It seems that laughter is not just human. It's ancient, older than speech, older than civilization. Perhaps it's the universe's way of giving every living thing a moment of relief, a shared exhale. And maybe that's why laughter feels sacred when it happens naturally, especially after a storm of emotion. When you laugh after crying, for example, it doesn't cancel the sadness. It transforms it. The sound of laughter rippling through tears is like sunlight touching wet leaves, a quiet renewal. That transformation is healing at its purest form. And so, the science of laughter is not just about biology or neurology. It's also about connection. When you laugh with someone, even for a few seconds, you're no longer separate. Your brains synchronize. Your rhythms align. For that small, fleeting instant, you're one. That's the therapeutic, mysterious, and utterly beautiful part of laughter. It dissolves the illusion of isolation. It says, you're not alone in this. And now, as this exploration draws to a close, let's settle into the gentle stillness that follows understanding. We've wandered to the hidden corners of laughter, from the nervous giggles of anxiety to the shared warmth of social joy, to the deep, healing laughter that soothes the mind. We've seen that laughter isn't always polite or predictable. It doesn't always arrive when it should. Sometimes it bursts forth at funerals, during sorrow, intention, and shock. But perhaps that's when we need it most, because laughter is balance. It's nature's way of bringing us back to center. The mind may be tangled, the heart may ache, but laughter reminds us that we are more than our pain. It shows us that inside every storm, there's still a spark of life trying to shine through. And so, when you laugh at the wrong time, maybe it isn't wrong at all. Maybe it's the body whispering, let go. A nervous laugh, a quiet giggle, even a smile through tears. These are not contradictions. They are harmony, the harmony of opposites coexisting. Perhaps laughter is the mind's lullaby, soothing itself when words can't. So tonight, as you lie down to rest, let your thoughts drift softly. Remember how laughter feels, the gentle rhythm of breath, the lightness that spreads through your chest, the way it brightens even the dimmest corners of your being. Hold on to that warmth. Let it glow faintly beneath your breath, like a candle flickering in a quiet room. And as your body grows heavier and your mind begins to drift, know that laughter will still be there, waiting within you, ready to rise again when you need it most. Because laughter is the sound of life saying, I'm still here, still trying, still shining. And with that, we come to the end of this soft, strange journey through the signs of laughter. May your heart stay light. May your worries loosen their hold. And may laughter, gentle, honest, healing laughter, visit you often, even in silence. Good night and goodbye until we meet again in another quiet discovery.